Oh my God, Venom and Knull might be in Spider-Man 4. Knull might be the villain of Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4. So in this video, I want to break down where this information is coming from and why we believe that this is real. And then I just kind of want to give you my reaction to this because I just don't know about this one, chat. So this is coming from multiple different places. Cryptic HD has been teasing this. Alex Perez was teasing it, and then he directly came out with an article on the Cosmic Circus that said this: what I've heard, Spidey's street level story turned multiversal roller coaster. The article reads, initially Marvel Studios wanted to develop a street level story for this upcoming installment of Spider-Man, having him team up with Daredevil to take on Wilson Fisk following the events of Daredevil Born Again. Multiple villains from Spider-Man's lore were also in consideration for the plot of this film. New villains such as the Mad Guy, Mr. Negative, Spencer Smythe, as well as some old revamped villains such as Ed McGargan's Scorpion or even Aaron Davis as Prowler were being considered as a part of this movie. Marvel still intends to tell this story, but we may have to wait a bit longer. So, if the street level story is being pushed back, what story would take its place? And this is where shit gets crazy. He says here, recently, I heard that the upcoming Spider-Man film might pit Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Tom Hardy's Venom together, with Venom The Last Dance setting up the interaction. By the end of Venom The Last Dance, we may see Eddie Brock cross over to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with some sources indicating that the recent reshoots in New York City for Venom The Last Dance has to do with that, but that remains unconfirmed for now. Not only that, but I'm hearing that the potential villain for this film would be Knull, who is seeking to enshroud the entire multiverse in his darkness following its discovery. It's important to note that the Venom symbiote is currently in two different universes, the Sonyverse and the MCU. This link may spark Knull to seek out Venom in 616 and be on a mission to engulf the multiverse in darkness. Okay, so that's crazy, but we also had Daniel RPK chiming in on Twitter explaining something similar. So Daniel was replying to people on Twitter and he said this: think about it logically, Venom 3 is Earth-based movie, so it's unlikely for them to fight Knull here. And this is the last solo Venom movie, so the buildup is not for Venom 4. Leaves two options: a crossover between the Sony films or Spider-Man 4. I'll know the answer soon. And so if you combine Daniel talking about that, you combine the fact that Alex Perez put his article out, you've got Cryptic HD teasing a similar thing with them wanting to do more with Knull and that he's a bigger multiversal threat. And it really does seem like Sony's going to have Knull be the villain of Spider-Man 4. Now, look, oh man, I got complicated feelings about this shit, man. Oh, I got complicated feelings about this. Okay, so on the one hand, I love Knull, dude. Knull is one of the coolest characters they've invented in the last 20, 30 years of Marvel Comics. He's awesome, dude, but the problem is he's so freaking awesome that I would put him on a Doctor Doom-esque level. I would put him on a Thanos-esque level. Like, this dude's a serious freaking threat. And so it feels a little bad to me to have Knull just be set up in Venom 3 as like this, you know, force behind the army that's coming into that world. And then you have Eddie Brock then just go into 616 and Knull's just going to follow him into 616. And then it's like, okay, so if that happens, then Venom and Spider-Man are going to defeat Knull. So you're telling me we're going to defeat Knull in a fourth movie in a franchise that was set up in a third movie in a franchise? Like, imagine if this had happened to Thanos. Okay, Thanos is that guy. And Thanos had the Infinity Gauntlet story, Thanos Quest, very famous in Marvel Comics. So they build slowly towards Thanos. And I can hear some of you in the comment section being like, well, this is our point about Doctor Doom. And I'm like, look, you could do this with Doctor Doom has this precedence in comics where like he'll just come into a story, sort of take the power or like become the actual villain like Loki at the end of the story. That happens a lot with Doctor Doom. I've seen it work in comics, so it can work in the movies. Like, they will be able to figure out Doctor Doom. And by the way, this dude's getting two epic movies and probably a lot of setup in the Marvel movies leading up to that as like Rabam Allah, the Great Destroyer. We'll talk more about that in other videos. But the point is, we've seen the extent of the setup for Knull. I mean, maybe there'll be more in the movie, but a lot of people are also saying Knull's not in Venom 3 a lot. That's a setup for Spider-Man 4. Okay, so look, I have complicated feelings on it. Now, having said all of that, I am excited to see Venom and Spider-Man together. And this Venom movie, it looks pretty cool to me. I know there's a lot of mixed feelings out there about it because it's Sony, and the second Venom movie was not as good as the first. And I get it. It's Sony. Sony's gonna Sony, guys. I totally understand it. But just the fact that Knull is such a badass character, and he's just gonna be sort of relegated and used in that way is really tough for me to get past because, you know, I think they're going to end up having to beat him. It's also super weird that you would just have Tom Holland Spider-Man, like, fight against friggin' Doctor Doom, then have to fight against Knull, then have to fight against Doctor Doom. Like, I'm really hoping now that this Spider-Man movie comes out before Doomsday. Otherwise, it's like, bro, what? Like, Peter Parker's got to fight against Doctor Doom, then he's going to fight against Knull in 616, which is somehow going to be grounded and street level, but also have multiversal elements. What? Like, oh my God, what? And so then he goes and beats Knull with Venom, and then is like, turns around and he's like, okay, bye, Venom, you know, have a good time. I got to go really defeat Doctor Doom now that he's godlike and has the Secret Wars movie coming. We got to go beat him. It's like, damn, bro, they're really going to make Peter fight Doctor Doom, then fight Knull, then fight Doctor Doom. I mean, and another thing that doesn't make sense is like the scale of this, right? If you're doing Knull and Knull's actually going to come to 616 Earth, bro, like in the comics, when Knull shows up, he covers the entire planet in a giant symbiote. He has freaking dragons and massive kaiju-like creatures, and he's the ultimate badass, dude. The whole planet has to fight against Knull, and they get their ass kicked pretty much. So how the hell can that be our grounded street level thing? Like, oh, hey, Peter, welcome to college. You know, this new professor, it's going to be kind of awkward. It's Professor Knull. And then we have Knull just there as the professor, like teaching Peter and shit. Like, what is this movie, man? And another thing, look, I'm sorry to do this, but there's one more reason why this is concerning to me. Like, normally, I would be so excited that Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios are doing such an epic villain as Knull. Get it away from Sony a little bit, because if it is Spider-Man 4, that's going to be Kevin Feige, Amy Pascal, and like the Marvel team, the MCU team is going to be handling stuff. But here's the problem. They've already done Gorr the God Butcher, and I think that was the worst thing they've ever done with a villain. Like, Gorr the God Butcher, total badass in his own right, mostly just because he has the weapon of Knull. Like, this dude isn't even on the same level as Knull. He just has his freaking sword, and he goes around killing all these gods. It's badass. And what they did with Christian Bale and Gorr the God Butcher was abysmally bad. So it's really concerning that now they're just going to do Knull as a Spider-Man 4 villain. Is he going to get the Gorr the God Butcher treatment? Like, they're going to tone him down majorly just to have it be a pretty big multiversal threat, but something that like Venom and Tom Holland Spider-Man can handle on their own, and then they go help everybody defeat Secret Wars. Like, dude, do you get what I'm saying here, guys? I'm confused. I'm not saying it can't be cool. I'm just saying, like, this is a little shocking, and I have a lot of questions and several concerns. I mean, we are in this era of just unbridled fan service, right? Like, it kind of feels like with the Doctor Doom stuff, even Deadpool and Wolverine, and a lot of the changes that Marvel appears to be making, they're just like, oh, you want fan service? Boom, here you go, boom. And dude, Venom and Spider-Man together? Of course, man, we want that. And they'll probably do that thing where they, you know, are initially enemies, and they have some epic fights just like the comics, and then they work together against like Knull and some other creatures. I mean, that sounds sick as hell. I can't lie. Like, I'm gonna be up for that stuff, and if they could just make it work and make it cool, maybe it'll have that Deadpool Wolverine feeling of me just being like, you know what, some of this doesn't make sense, but I don't care. It's super fun. Hell yeah. Like, maybe that's what they're going for now. But god damn, they're throwing a lot at us. Doom, Knull, that whole side of the universe with the Sony stuff being based around Knull the Symbiote God. Doctor Doom is in the background pulling all the strings. He's going to set up Secret Wars. It's getting wild out here. Let me know what you think. Like, am I way off base here? Is this going to be badass as hell, or do you have some of the same concerns? Let me know in the comment section below. And as I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.